Welcome back to Face It with Dr. G. I'm Dr. G, and I have the pleasure of doing today's episode with a dear friend of mine, Gretta Monahan, who is the most incredible woman, entrepreneur, media personality, and has over 30 years in the space, the entrepreneurial space, the owner, founder, operator of Gretta Enterprises, which encompasses Greta Cole, Greta Lux, and we cannot wait to hear your story today about all of those things and beyond. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. You know I'm your biggest fan. So when you wrote and you said, hey, will you be on my cast? I was like, what? I'm so excited. Yes. I absolutely love your podcast. I love everything you're doing. You are a superwoman, and so it's an honor to be here.
Yeah, I feel the same about you. We can just dive right in because I know I have so many questions, and I'm sure this podcast and YouTube being in primarily the aesthetic space, you know, everyone has other questions for other types of entrepreneurs as well. And I think fashion is obviously very associated with beauty. They're very interconnected. So I just love to hear your story about how you got into the space as a child.
Sure. As for as long as I can remember, I absolutely loved being, you're going to laugh, in the CVS beauty aisle. I mean, I'm not kidding. I used to just, after school, if we had to go do errands, or I grew up with my aunt and uncle, and we'll get into that, but they stopped off there and they would be trying to drag me out. I'd be in there trying to test and see, and I don't know, I always had this incredible attraction to beauty and to fashion. The same thing if we went to the malls, whether it be Chestnut Hill Mall, Atrium Mall, I'd have my nose pressed up against the glass of every single store, because even if I couldn't go in there and buy it, I just wanted to look at it. I wanted to touch it. And I loved the energy of beauty and fashion and the creativity of it. I also was very, very inspired by a woman entrepreneur, female entrepreneur that my aunt introduced me to very, very young. And it actually was the first place that I dreamed of getting a job, and I got one there. And her name is Yolanda. And Yolanda is, born and raised in Boston, and brought true couture, high-end celebrity fashion and styling, wellness, beauty, all under one roof before anyone ever even considered that. So I always feel like she stands out and is still in the front of my mind. Every day, with every decision I have to make, I think, like, what would Yolanda do? Because she did something so groundbreaking at the time, and I got to observe it and be a fly in the wall.
That's incredible. So you grew up in Boston.
Yes, I grew up my entire family's from Cambridge. And so I started my life there. I was born and raised in Boston proper, raised in Cambridge with my grandparents, and then moved into my aunt and uncle's house later on. My story starts where my mom and dad, my mother actually got sick. She ended up with mental illness, and she was struggling to take care of me. But my family, as I say, it takes a village. My family was just incredible and gathered around and put their arms out and hugged and took care of her, but also me. So we all lived with my grandparents in Cambridge, and I absolutely loved growing up in Boston. And then I ended up at 8th grade, right around my son's age, actually, 13, 14. My son is going to be 14 in October. Moved to Waltham, went to Waltham High School, and that was with my aunt and uncle, my mom's sister and her husband. So my mom and my aunt are both passed, but my uncle is now grandpa. I have like this crazy story, Gretchen. I did a surprise adoption. I had him adopt me at 50.
Oh.
So I'm the oldest adopted person you know. But it's a really fun, it's an amazing family story of love, and the support that they gave me brought me to where I am today, for sure.
That's
the support,
incredible.
the upbringing, all of it, and the love.
It's incredible.
So I started there, and when I graduated Waltham High School, I knew my entire way through it had to be beauty and fashion. So I applied to some colleges here, but my dream schools were FIT and Parsons in New York. And I really wanted to desperately be in the design program. So I was accepted I actually signed up to do the summer before freshman year because I was desperate to get to New York. It was like a very Sex and the City. I was dying to get there. Yolanda was actually, she took me to New York on one of her buying trips when I was 16. So
Wow.
I was able to go with she, her daughter Sandy, who was a designer, and her daughter Linda, who really, they became kind of my surrogate family, and definitely my first entrepreneurial kind of source of inspiration because they were women and they were all doing it and doing
Mhm.
it in a way that the world had not seen yet. So
Wow.
I ended up there. I ended up being accepted. I got there, and it was a pinch me moment. I was like me from Waltham. Like, what am I doing here with all these incredible
Amazing.
people from all over the world, so talented.
Oh,
The student body was amazing, the best of the best, and not to mention the faculty. And I started the journey. And during that journey, I was putting myself through school. I was working part time. I'd go after school to the garment district and I would work in a sewing circle, finishing, sewing, finishing, doing, as they say, all of the jobs, that like really teach you. I was expert at putting labels on, sewing the
so
labels
amazing.
in, delicate fabric, things like that. And I'm not going to tell you it wasn't boring at times, but I'm going to tell you like it made me understand the work that I was in for. And it also made me better understand the time and the care that craftsmanship is all about. You really need I was with people who had been already working in this way for 3 decades then, and I was able to be around them and just soak it up and also watch the dedication. They never left until the job was done. They never did. So
Yeah.
those were the beginning jobs. And then as I went through school, I remember going to the job office and I said, I love going to the garment district, but I'm dying to be on a set. I want to be on a magazine set.
Yes.
I want to style. They're like, you can't style because you have no skills. Sorry, kiddo. Like, we know you're eager, but you need mentors. You need to learn and train. And then the job counselor called me back and she's like, so what do you think about beauty? Would you assist a makeup artist, if it was on a set? And I'm like, absolutely. And that's where the beauty piece, came back and came
Wow.
into play. So this wonderful makeup artist, it was really an agency first that reached out and said, hey, we'll hire her. She can be a gopher. She can clean makeup brushes. She can go get us coffee, the
Whatever it
normal stuff,
takes.
right? Whatever
Yeah.
it took. And I was so thrilled to be there. So
Wow.
I did that and watched and learned. And, to give you the fast forward to a day that I showed up on the set, I had now worked for her and for this agency and different artists for probably 4 or 5 months. And I remember it was like winter and stormy. No one could get to the set and the models were late and everyone was crazy. We were on a strict time frame for a brand. And I showed up and the production manager came over to me and said, hey, we have models here, but we don't have all the artists. And I talked to the lead makeup artist and she said for you to start. And I was like,
Wow.
start? She's like, yeah, just get in there. You've got to start prepping faces so we can be caught up by the time everybody lands and get these because we have a lot of models today. And I was like, oh, I'm like, and so I basically said, I'm really not sure. I want to make sure I don't do anything wrong. And he said, just talk to her. Just talk to her. He put me on the phone and she's like, I've been watching you. You come in looking amazing every day. You'll be fine. Just start giving you the few steps, clean the face, cleanse it, get it prepped, put the primer on. I mean, it was like she gave me like 6 things to do. She's like, just line them up and go down the line. Make sure every single thing is set. So that was the first day that I ever actually touched someone, that I actually
Wow.
worked on someone one-on-one. And I know because I watch you. I'm a client of yours, but also a patient, but also, I watch you. There is nothing like that magical connection. There is nothing like, connecting with someone and having them open up and allow you to touch them. And so little did I know it, but that was a moment. It was a moment that would guide the rest of the blossoming of my learnings, my career, my path, because there was, up the line, like everything, there are, you are brought down roads, you think you have a vision for yourself, and then that picture starts changing and broadening and opening up.
There's such a beautiful lesson to what you just said. Everything you said was amazing, and thanks for sharing a little bit about your personal life too and your childhood. But in aesthetics, I think, just bringing it over to aesthetics a little bit,
Sure.
especially now, things have changed. In the past 3 years, things have completely changed. Definitely in 7 since we started G-Face, but people almost feel as though it just happens overnight. Like you can just come in, you can start
Yes.
injecting Botox or filler or whatever, and it doesn't happen that way. And a lot of people come in feeling entitled, like I want to make a lot of money and I want to do it this way and that way. And I'm like, you have to put in your time, first of all. There's a lot to learn. And I almost feel it's lost to a degree where, like me and you, we would work for free. We would go and
we
just
would.
do anything it took to get in front of people, to make those connections, to form those relationships. And so it's so refreshing when I have someone reach out to me and say, I just would love to come and just be there and help. How can I help? And of course I want to support them and give them a job, but people that are willing to do any and everything just to get in the door, it's significant.
It is significant. And I think that you said it so well. It does, there is this really difficult barrier for newer talent, younger people coming in. I think whether they're in your space, med, my space, stylists, hairdressers, makeup artists, where when you see things on Instagram, it looks so easy. It looks, and there are so many factors that, as much as we love Instagram and we love social and we love to show the work, you aren't able to see the ramp up of getting to that place where you can create that magic and you're really, really skilled. And I think that is confusing both for the professional as well as the consumer, because you and I know that there's tons of things that you see out there that you're scrolling and seeing and thinking, wow, that looks amazing. But that doesn't necessarily mean that, that person has the skills necessarily. That's the part that you have to navigate, both when looking for whom to make your mentor nowadays and for whom you will choose to trust with your aesthetic journey. It's most important. You have to really be about that. So I'm with you. We're always searching for people who are, and always open to people. Even if I have every single slot filled, they'll say, if I know I am really into someone's energy like that because they want to learn, they'll say to me, hey, I'll go to the set with you, I don't care. And I'm like, sometimes these gigs, it sounds great, but TV can go till 2 a.m. Are you ready for that? A photo shoot can go until the wee hours. Are you ready for that? I can't tell you you're going to be in at 9 and out at 5. It's just, entrepreneurialism doesn't work like that. And my business doesn't work like that. Just like the ladies I worked for, we stay until it's done. No questions asked. No one can be flinching. You can't have that look on your face. And you need to bring positive, great energy, because this is their most important moment, and we are the collaborators and we are the team and we are the experts. We must make it happen. So I'm with you all the way. I think that is a big challenge today to have people understand, because they don't get to see that. They only see the after.
Yeah, and it's really hard for me to understand when somebody will come to me and say, well, that's not in my job description. And it's a very hard thing to understand. I understand that you think your job is one thing, but the culture here is everybody pitches in, everybody is willing. Does everybody do everything? No, but does the trash sometimes still go to my house? Yes. Do the sharps containers sometimes still go to my house? Yes. But that's how we function. And now it's just, if you want to be a part of this culture, that's what it is, right? And it's not for everybody. But so tell me so you did that makeup, and then what happened? How are you now all over
I
the
know.
screen?
So I did that, I interacted in that way, and I left. It wasn't all at once, like it never is, but I continued to work in that space. I still worked in my sewing, my garment district. I did all of it. And the process of being it's basically bridging off your point, being open to every job, even though it isn't your end game. If it's in the realm, in the industry, and in the area and in the space that you really dream about being in, I cannot express how valuable it is. Even if you never do it again, it is so important. And part of that works into learning how to work with others, which is critically important. When you do the other supporting roles or you do other parts of the job, it becomes so important. In my case, to go back to what you said, I am here. I'm at FIT. I'm in the fashion design program at this point. Yet I'm dabbling in beauty, and I'm in editorial, and I'm getting out there in all sorts of different ways and trying to experience everything, not just the narrow, space or field of just design. I want the whole thing. I want the before experience and the after experience, and I want to be in the process throughout all of it. And so that's what those jobs afforded me. And so what happened is, at the end of that year, I started to think about beauty a lot. And I was like, wow, I love this whole experience of when I'm with the stylist and they're working on the clothing and they're making that sync up with the client's end game and their brand and what they want to see and have. I also love when they get together and powwow and the beauty and the fashion decide, what are we doing? How do we make the rest of this fit and work and be incredible? I love all that. I love watching the photographers decide on what the concept looks like for them and the art directors. So what does that mean? What does it mean that I love everything about it? I can't do everything, and I'm in a design program.
Yes, you can.
So, well, at that time, honestly, but you just said it, at that time, they were very segregated. You were told you had to decide on your track. And I'm sure in med too, you have to, decide. And then, but, it was the old thinking that you couldn't do it all. And that was causing a lot of stress and strain for me. Because, do I go further in this program or do I switch gears? So as always, I had an incident. And the incident, another moment, was cut to me in the design program. I have my big project. It makes up half your grade. I go to town on it like everybody else. Everyone's amazing there. It's not like you're the only one who's talented. Everyone's talented. And so we all go to it. We're doing our thing. It's nearing the end of that quarter, so it's time for the final, for that to be passed in. And it's an actual garment. We had to design something soup to nuts, from sketches to scale to graphic to everything, and present it and actually sew it, make it, and present it. And it would be walking in the fashion show because that's how you do it there. And this was major for all of us. Lot on the line, a lot of pressure, a lot of skills that have to be proven. It was great to do, great practice, great exercise. So I, being me, were given very clear instructions, and I decided to make what I felt was a very slight and appropriate change. And it was to the sleeve. I will never forget it. On the garment, it was a flat pleat, and I didn't love how I kept putting it on the form, and I was like, it's just not working. Like everything else about it I love, but if I could just tweak it, sorry, I lost my earbud. If I could just tweak this, it would be so much better. Famous last words. So I went ahead and did it, even though I had very clear instructions. And I changed it. And when I tell you, you could wear this garment inside out, it was perfect. Like I had every person, every professor, I had Yolanda, her daughter, check it. Is this, it was really Sandy who checked it, who was a fashion designer and still is. And she's like, nope, this is, she went to FIT, so she knew the whole game. I passed it in, I got it back, I got an F.
Oh.
And I was like, what? Crying, panicked. I was like, this is crazy. How? Everyone around me, my dorm mates were like, what? This is crazy. So I do what you do. I booked a meeting with my professor, an instructor, and I went to go meet them and meant to go meet her. And it's always a few in the classroom setting, but I went to the lead. And we sat down and I was like, what? She said, I knew you were going to come. And I really, it killed me to do this. But my job here is to prepare you to be a designer, to work for a brand who has a brand ethos, and to be on the team and to actually produce design and fashion, you know, for them. This is for them, not for you. And she said, and you went rogue. You went rogue, which was not the instructions. You need to, this lesson of getting an F is all about not the garment. It is sewn perfectly. But if you are going to work in a professional way and in a creative way that is respectful and has value, you need to get out of yourself and be able to add value. You taking my direction and then changing it has nothing to do with my ego, but it will have something to do with your plight in this business. You can't graduate from FIT and not understand, you know, how to apply yourself creatively in a way that is responsible, in a way that is professional, and in a way that really is what this whole career that you said you wanted to do is all about. And I remember in that moment thinking, wow, do I want that? Is that how I see myself? Am I going to be best going through this process and journey and, you know, ending up in that role? I think it was the first time, though I had been there quite a long time in the program, it was the first time for me, Gretchen, that I really understood the job at the end and the career at the end of it. And I had some hard questions to ask myself. And that was a major moment of frustration and a major moment for me to kind of say, okay, what does this all mean? And so I took a pause. And it changed everything.
I mean, that's just incredible. I think the things that are the biggest failures in our minds are actually the most powerful. The most lessons learned come from situations like that. Wow, that's amazing. That's so amazing. I can't even express. I think there's so many parallels and so many routes I could go with that, but just being in the moment also and giving yourself 2 seconds of time to think about what just happened, right? Even when you were so young, being in college, you have no idea. You're like, I think I want to do something. I'm not sure what the end is. Very similar to medicine, where you go in and you're like, okay, I know I want to be a surgeon. This is what I want to do. It's a sexy job. Da, 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 da. You know, you don't even really know what the job is down the road. You know it's surgeon, okay, but what is your life going to be like? All of these questions that you should be asking yourself. And I think it happens a lot in medicine. I think that's why there's burnout. I think that's why there's people that shift jobs or whatever it is. So wow, that's very interesting. So then you said, I'm not going to do this anymore. So did you stop your sewing classes?
That quick, but I think what I would say was, and like you said, for your listeners who admire you, whether they're on a med track or beauty, fashion, aesthetics, all of it, anybody who's anywhere, or even someone who has been expert, is, you know, I meet a lot of women, and I'm sure you do too right now, that come into the store and they're like, they have been the absolute boss lady in their, you know, their profession, whether they're lawyers or have owned other businesses, and they're just ready for a change. And, you know, they've done it and they're ready to pivot. So I think what I can remember, what's palpable, what I will never forget in that moment was feeling like this is a creative limitation. If I go into this, I need to be really conscious that this is a creative and business. I was starting to feel like a business person, a business limitation that I don't think I can accept. For some reason, I feel it right here. It just doesn't feel, when I suddenly go to that place that she wants me to go to, that I'm going to be able to be fulfilled in that role, doing that and having those guardrails. That's not going to work for me. And so I didn't yet know that I was going to do what I did, but I felt that feeling and I allowed it to be. And we were getting now towards the end of the year. I knew that, you know, summer was coming. I had an opportunity to either stay and work in New York because I had a job again in the garment district. I could have done that. But instead I went back to Boston. I left New York City I went back. I would have had to, it was 2 more years to sign up, go back to school, then sign up if I wanted to do my bachelor's. I did not. And I ended up going home and telling my family the truth that I was having second thoughts. And it was a shocker because I was someone who, from, single digit age, like my son Rio, was, doing all the things like, the lipstick, the clothes, sewing things downstairs in the basement, taking apart everybody's clothes and making them mad in the house, dressing all the dolls, changing everything up, trying to color their hair, all of it. I remember my aunt and uncle, who I told you were my, not technically my adoptive parents at that time, but they were taking care of me and raised me and my closest family. And I remember I cried on the way home. I was bawling I was on the bus. It was like not a pretty moment. It was not a pretty moment, but it had to be. It had to be. It was the most important time. And I went through all of the feelings, the feelings of failure, the feelings of, what am I, some dope? I knew who I wanted to be. I mean, what is this? I'm also doing really well in this program. I'm sure you hear that from many people in med. They're, talented, incredible students and doing well. And yet they're feeling like, is this the track? Is this what I want to do? So it was probably my first adult, really truly adult moment where I had to realize that just because you had that in mind for all of those years, just because you thought you knew what you wanted to do and how to do it, you have every right. Not only do you have a right to change it, but you should be evolving, building, expanding, dropping, adding at all times. And I think I had experienced in New York, especially in that era, because I graduated high school 88, so that's 89, 90, that, I really grew tired of people telling me. I kept hearing that messaging: you can't be this. If you love fashion, you can't do beauty. They won't take you seriously. They won't, over and over and over again, because that was true for them. And even though the model of what I wanted to do did not exist, it wasn't like I could look to it. Yolanda was absolutely the closest doing it. And I was so fortunate that I had, our lives collided so that I could actually see that it could be done, because you can have a lot of doubt when you don't have an example, right? I just knew somewhere in me, but boy, did I not know how I was going to get there. And this was challenging. It would mean that I would drop out of school, that school, which was the number one and the one that everybody wanted to be into. And I had the good fortune of making it, dropping out of my dream school, leaving my dream place, because I didn't know how to navigate and do what I wanted from New York. I needed to regroup, and I needed the infrastructure of family and community to do it. And so I never went back to New York on the bus. I did not go back. I stayed put. I had a string of randomness, random jobs in retail, random. I felt completely lost. I felt lonely because my friends were in college. Some were there, but most were gone. And it was low. It was a low time. And, for parents, a lot of the people maybe who watch you are like my age, and they have kids younger who could be going through these trials. I was there, they may not know that about me, but I was there, and it was a bumpy, yucky year. I mean, I got going before the full year. I started to inch and move through these retail jobs. Every single thing I tried helped me, even, whether it failed, even in the fails helped me so much to say, that's not for me. I'm not doing that. I did some, fashion styling, but for department store. I just knew the department store, for instance, setting. Though I loved being in them, I didn't enjoy working in that way in a department store. I really loved, what kept bringing me back was I didn't lose an ounce of love for fashion, obviously, But I did always, I kept going back to that feeling of that first day that I got thrown into assisting, of working like one-on-one, intimate, up close, the way you work and I work, like really close. And I kept saying, how can I get that feeling back? That's the feeling. I just love that feeling. But what job is that? There's no like job I can slide into that's just that, and encompasses all of the things, all of the mediums that speak to me, that give me joy. And so it became, I had to build a
Here you
mosaic.
are.
I had to chip by chip. Here we are.
Wow. That is just so remarkable in so many ways, but just to share how, again, everybody thinks it just happens overnight and you just wake up and you have this incredible businesses, companies, it doesn't happen that way. And you have to have the lows in order to figure out not only what you want, to have clarity, to find your people, to learn, and to grow, to then develop what you've developed. And another good lesson I think that can come from what you said is, if it's not there, if you don't have what you want, if you can't find it, just let's create it, right? And I think that takes a certain type of person, but that's why I think we're so similar in so many ways, because I feel there's nothing that we can't do. Maybe that's a little unreasonable, but
oh no! On the days I need a boost, I go right to you. I'm like, I got to hear her this morning. She's going to give us affirmation. She's going to give us energy. She's going to, be announcing 7 new things she's doing. I need to get that. I definitely have those days, and we do need that for one another. I think that what you just naturally said is where we're at in the next phase, which is find your people. You could say this next chapter for me was all about finding your people, and thank God they found me too. And I think that struggle and that energy, even energy of struggle, puts you out there in a really important way, so long as you allow yourself to be. And I ended up signing up to go to cosmetology school. I wanted to do something that felt grounded and active. And at that moment, had you said to me right here, hey, are you going to be a hairdresser? I would have said, Dr. G, I'm not sure, but I have to do something. I have to explore this feeling, and that was my way back, trying to get that feeling again. And that was accessible. It was what I could afford. It was what I could do. It was close to home. So again, did it look as amazing as New York? Did it feel as great to sign up for that as FIT? No, not at that moment, I can assure you. But it was putting one foot in front of the other and doing something. And I talked to my aunt and uncle. I talked to people in the business. I talked to people that were on the sets that I was still running back and forth and assisting and working on. I kept that connection with New York, that I could go back for work, and I had made great relationships there, seeded terrific new friends and community. And that really mattered a lot in these next steps. So I signed up for cosmetology school, went in with the idea that it would be, I'd learn a little bit about everything, which I did, skin, a little bit that you learn in school. As you said, it has nothing to do with really learning when you get out, but it was setting the foundation and helping me start in a new direction of exploration. So I did that. It was in Watertown, and I met, and I'm just trying to give you condensed versions because I know, our stories go on and on, but I met this incredible woman, Nicole DiFrancesco, there. She's now Nicole DiFrancesco Leone. And I met the owners of the school and the family who had been in beauty for a very long time, 3 generations, their business. And we just all clicked. They were entrepreneurs. I finally was back in touch with the energy that I couldn't describe earlier on because I wasn't familiar with exactly what it was that was moving me. And they had all of this to offer. The Nocera family, Nicole was young and excited like I was. And she was the one I started to share my dreams with. And I was like, do you think we're crazy? Like, do you think this is crazy? Could this ever be? Could we have a beauty company that was more fashion and, yes, touch people, but do it head to toe, not just face, not just hair, do it all, do it like I do it in New York. Do you think people, or do I need to go back to New York? What is it? And my plan at that point was to graduate there go back and start from the ground up, get back in the trenches, work on sets. I love the art side. As a stylist and as a beauty and hair person, even though everyone told me that would never work, that no, there wouldn't be an agency out there that would pick me up, there wouldn't be a media company or a television station would even think about entertaining that. I was like, I have to do it. I have to do it all. I am not going to allow people to bully me out of this because I feel it. I feel every bit of it. All of those mediums mean something to me, and I love working in that way. So she and I made friends. I had this big plan to go back. The Noceras really took me under their wing and trained me and made me an apprentice in their business. I ended up graduating. They offered me a job right out of school. Before we were graduating, they came to me and said, look, we'd love you to work for our company. And little did I know it, at that moment in the cards, it was to stay in Boston. And that is where the story starts in my entrepreneurial journey, because I worked for them. I learned under them. I learned how to manage a business. They were wonderful about opening it up to me and showing me the inside out of it. And I worked extremely hard and produced great results in their business. And I was there for years. I recruited and worked with Nicole. She partnered with me. She also managed and trained after learning and growing through their training program. And much like your team that I see learning under you, which is incredible, and see all the stars that have been produced out of your business. And at that point, the time came later on that it was time, though I was never planning at that moment. I was really happy running his business and their business. I truly was. But he was starting to make changes in his business, and as he should. And at that moment, it didn't exactly, there started to be other things that I wanted to add in. As you know, it came back to that creative opportunity. I wanted to add services, do more under one roof. The clothing was really, I was still styling or starting to style or think about styling, but I was really mainly beauty focused, and we couldn't figure out how we would add the fashion piece into that business. So that started to pull on me and started to become something that became itchy again, if you will, that I needed to get that in. That was the big picture. And so I ended up opening my own salon.
Yeah.
Yes, but it was, we're talking to your earlier point. We are talking, I got out of school barely, at 20, 21. Wow. And it took years to get to open my first business, and years of training and learning. And without it, I would have failed miserably. I would not be here had I not had the incredible, I always give my mentors, and no matter, and believe me, there was tough love in there. There were some really difficult times and moments. There were things that did not feel good in the moment at all that we endured for training and all of the rest of it. But I would be so completely incorrect, and it would be infactual, just not a fact, if I didn't say that all of that really paved the road for me. It really did. And watching them work really, really hard, really, really paved the road for me, and take risks and have them succeed and fail and all of that, and allow me the space. The biggest thing to me is that you promote and offer opportunities to the women that work for you and the people that join your company, because you, day one, you're like, this is her. She's the operations director. She's a rock star. You create, and I've talked to you about these opportunities where you also think out of the box. I love it. One day I remember you and I met when we met at the cottage, and you said to me, I met this really amazing young woman, and she's in college, but guess what? She's got it. She can run and manage things. She is a natural born leader. And I was like, well, how old is she? And you're like, young, like 20s. And I was like, really? You have an enormous business. That's amazing. But you think out of the box. And that's why you create space for the best of the best. And that is why your business can provide its patience with the best of the best. If you have a leader who does not want anyone to be as good or better than them, run for the hills. Whether you are a person looking for a career opportunity, or for all of our clients out there in patients, run. because when the owner founder must be the prima ballerina, the best in class, and doesn't allow people to be their own star and come up and learn and then take that and grow with it, and doesn't it's you're never ever going to get, you know, everything you need. So I think that, I mean, it doesn't even matter. We are the face of our business, of course, but we want to attract the best talent, and that talent has to be 100% devoted to the high standards and the training and the learning. And I see you do that every day,
Sweet.
and it's
I totally
amazing.
agree. And Kaylee actually she was 18. I mean, it was wild. But I think what I've realized about myself is not only do I love to create, that one word that I think embodies all of me and my purpose in life, to create people, to create opportunity, to create visions. And not only does it help build them as a person, because a little bit different from you, I had a couple mentors when I was starting GFACE MD, but I literally taught myself everything. And it was hard, but I had lots and lots of bumps in the road, probably more than you did, but just got there a different way. And because I didn't have that direct mentor, I wanted to be that for other people, and finding that space to give back and allowing people to not only grow themselves with, you know, techniques and strategy and skill sets, right? Doing this podcast with guests, Rachel is incredible. And she's like, I'll learn it. I want to learn this new skill. This is a new project. Let's do it. That's not in my job description, right? Those are two complete opposites that end up creating a certain type of person, and that person's going to be successful, right? They want to learn, they're hungry, they're craving. So by creating opportunities and giving them the option to build new skills, they're also invested in a company, an idea, a vision, a brand, and they're building it with me. I'm not building it anymore. Everyone is building it together in different ways. And when you're invested in something, you obviously have to believe in it. You have to believe in the vision, but it's your purpose in life. It's not just a job anymore. You know, we believe in what we do. So,
and once again, you segue to, you know, how do you become successful? How do you have your dream? Your dream, yes, it starts with you, but it's really about also the community and the infrastructure you build around you, because no one can get to this place, or the place that we dreamed about getting to in our respective businesses, without the buy-in of others and the contribution. And certainly for me, especially being so not willing to give up my editorial and the other areas of how I creatively need to express myself, you know, in the role I'm in, not just as a business owner, but this very unique picture of what I do and how I spend my time and how I share, you know, early on was very odd. You know, people who owned salons or clothing stores, you know, weren't on shows or doing makeovers, and that also didn't feel very regular, not even for people who necessarily joined the team. It was a very different thing. So Nicole and I really had to set out and make it clear once again, you know, we're not trying to be like the others. They're terrific. There are so many talented, wonderful, incredible brands, and we don't knock them, but we're not looking to do that. That's not who we want to be here.
Yeah,
that's
you stay in your own lane.
So,
and that's why everyone can exist.
And you create your lane. Lane.
You create your lane. And then segueing over, because we've already been talking for almost an hour and I can't believe it. I know. It's crazy. I want to talk about this incredible event in October, because I think everybody needs to know about it. And I'm just so thrilled to be a part of it, to support you in every way. And I know we probably will just have to do another episode, because you had a little bit of a health scare in there. And I know you're public about that. And you can maybe touch on that. And that's the reason for October.
Yes. So on October 24th, this coming fall, I am so filled with gratitude. I am being honored by Find the Cause Breast Cancer Foundation. They are born and founded out of New England, but their research goes global. They have had an incredible impact on research, and the only area that they are devoted to, which we are devoted to, and I'll tell you because I've been working with them for over a decade prior to this time, is prevention. It is not comfort and care. It is not drugs. It is about getting to the question that every single person, including myself, when I was diagnosed with no family history, why? Why did I get breast cancer? No one in my family has it. My doctor couldn't answer it, of course. We are still really lost. We don't understand that there's so many good things going on in research, but there are so few dollars reserved for this specific research. Under 10%, actually. It's right around 7 or 8%, which I'm sure you know. But many of us don't realize that. And it is incredible. We have made such strides. I would not be in the healthy, thank goodness, healthy remission I'm in if it weren't for groundbreaking research from organizations like BCRF, who work in, with the drugs. And there was a drug, Herceptin, that I took specifically for my type of breast cancer, which was stage 2, HER2 positive, and estrogen and progesterone positive. So, it was a combo platter diagnosis. And without that breakthrough, for instance, in tamoxifen, I would not have, this incredible outcome of being cured. But it is one of those things that we are still running up against cancer and, all of the new diagnosis, especially that's happening with the younger generation who is being diagnosed at a faster rate for the first time ever than my generation. They're also being diagnosed at later stages, which is really beyond disturbing, and we cannot allow that to remain. We need to understand where it's coming from, because for the majority of diagnosis, it's not coming from family history. We're making strides, but this event is all about making more strides and this foundation. So I love you because you're allowing me to share Find the Cause with everybody here. And I'm putting out a big invite to everybody. I've already invited you, but I want all of our gang and our listeners and our community to join. I'm looking for incredible sponsors. I'm so lucky to have my friends and family gathering for that. But corporate, personal, please come. But if you can't come, join, be a remote support system and connect with us, because this is an incredible opportunity to be part of making history and cutting edge research that I am profoundly proud of, and I want to share more about. So we can do that on another episode. I won't.
Yeah, and we will have a lot of fun.
I begged you. Just for everybody listening, I begged Gretchen. I was like, can we please just talk about this? Because I'm so excited. I'm not just honored, but I'm excited to introduce you to everybody. And you will love this gang. Is your gang too. The scientists and everybody involved is incredible. And you know I know you jumped at it, but all of our people need to be there. They definitely do. So
and I think it hits a different chord when it comes to breast cancer, and I think that's also why I love it, because the money has to be there for research and we have to get there a certain way. BCRF, as you mentioned, but this is starting earlier because we are getting those earlier, more advanced diagnoses. How do we prevent? How do we look at ourselves holistically? Is it, obviously hormonally induced? Is it something we're eating? It's in our genes, not as much so, right? So how do we figure that out?
Yes.
And that's, I think, why it's so powerful too. And just to have that community of people, God forbid,
Yes. And the education. They have an educational platform. I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to have something at my store. So we'll invite your beautiful audience and mine, and we're going to actually have an educational event here, so that you can hear that, because the fact that they invest in that as well, especially for, daughters and our nieces and our friends, and we need this next generation to come up with more, women, just women's health in general. We need them to have a better understanding and command over their bodies and their wellness. And you're always giving, terrific leadership and advice on this, from the inside out. And so I think we need to create space in our businesses to always do that. And I know I get major inspiration from you because you are so devoted to education, and this is education. And I really, I can't tell you, when you're diagnosed, you crave it so much. You need to learn a different language. You need to have, the jargon alone. And the biggest realization that's so frustrating is like, wow, I thought I knew myself. I thought I was a woman who was modern, who knew about my body, who knew about my risks, my how to mitigate cancer. I thought I knew it all, but I realized through my own journey that we don't know enough, and we need to band together and make sure that we do, and that we invest in really high quality platforms, and also make sure that it's available to people in the way that they like to learn, which is like this podcast and digital and different ways, right? Because we can only gather so many people in a space, but if we put it through and we work with people like Rachel, who are brilliant at distribution of content and information and education, and what you're doing, which is so innovative in the way that you teach, not just in the trenches of your business, but also out on the road, we can get so much done. And actually in breast cancer, save lives significant in very short time. I believe that. It's proven to me with all that I've learned from our consortium. So I'm excited to share that with you. So excited.
I can't wait. And part of
I
that
want
is
to
the
say to
reason
you,
why.
You're nominated for Best of Upper Cape. Let's discuss that.
I know. We're very excited.
Your Mashpee location. Tell me all about that.
So Mashpee Commons is this, if you guys that are listening aren't familiar, it is this gorgeous, quaint town at the beginning of the Cape when you go. It's one of the first towns. So it's about, an hour and 10 from our Wellesley location. And it's this outdoor mall that is just beautiful. It's year round. I think after COVID, a lot of people moved down there full time. They wanted a little bit of a slower lifestyle. Get it. And we're thriving there. We're open either Tuesday or Wednesday through Saturday, depending on the time of year. And yes, we've been nominated for Best of Upper Cape in 2 different categories. So I think nominations end this Friday, the 27th, I think, in 3 days.
So can we go on? I know I already did. Can you do it more than once? Can we?
You can do it every day.
Entering. Ooh, all right, then we have to do that.
It's a lot. It's a full-time job. I definitely haven't been doing it every day. But we do have our link in our bio on Instagram.
We do it right when we hang up here.
Oh, thank you. So we're excited about that. Yeah, it's definitely an honor. So, yeah.
That's incredible.
I was going to mention too, and then thank you so much. I mean, you've had Best of Boston's for how many years now? 20.
Oh, it never gets old. Trust me.
We are the best.
We are. And that's the moral of this whole story, right? My team, they're the winners. They're the ones. They do it, right? Might have started with me and an idea, but these awards go to them. We won, if you can believe it, we won Best of Boston from Boston Magazine. We won
so amazing.
Boston Commons, Best in the City. Can't get over it. And we also just learned that we won Best of Connecticut from Connecticut Magazine for G-Spot.
No way.
If you guys have not been up there, it's incredible. You and I have to go. We should do a seminar up there too. It's fantastic. You'd love it. That's a 22,000 square foot spa that I have there. So it's my flagship. And it's, it's just, there's so much excitement at Foxwoods. They have transformed themselves. Wow. They are putting in a Great Wolf so that our kids can go play. We can go hang out. We can spa. Yeah, that's going to be opening this year. Gordon Ramsay has a television studio up there, and the restaurant is outstanding. World-class food. Fun gaming. If you love to gamble, it's there. But if you don't, there is so much more there. Wow. My family loves it. I take them up there every year. We do like a little reunion. Oh my, what? No way.
We need to change it. All things incredible. You have won Best of Boston Common, Connecticut now. I mean, it's unbelievable. And it just shows what you've done, the dedication, the trials, tribulations, everything that got you to where you are now is just phenomenal. So it's enjoy the journey. I said this the other day, but you've got the bookends, right? We have one bookend. And there's a lot of messiness, messy contents, and how do we want to end it? What is going to be within those bookends? And it's all of the story that you're going to create. There's ups and downs and all arounds, and it's just the journey that's happening. And if you guys need personal styling or whatever when it comes to aesthetics and being on stage, if you want help with any of that, she's incredible. It's been awesome. And until next time, thank you guys for listening. Go ahead, like, follow, subscribe. We cannot wait to see you next time.